They took to the streets during the Workers Over Billionaires Day of Action. They say changes pushed by those with money are hurting the average American. There were several demonstrations across Tampa Bay. Fox 13's Genevieve Curtis was at one in downtown Tampa.
Well, about 100 people put in some work this Labor Day, lining the streets here on Kennedy and West Shore Boulevard to protest. They say they are standing up for workers, but also taking aim at the administration.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Donald Trump has got to go!
The demonstration was called Workers Over Billionaires, but protesters say it's deeper than that.
I'm a real American, fighting the rights for every man.
In a year when tens of thousands of federal workers have lost their jobs after cuts by DOGE, retirees face cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, and undocumented laborers face deportations, protesters have a problem with the president's agenda.
I think everybody agrees. Criminals bad. Criminals don't need to be here. But people that are snatched from Home Depot, from the farms, from the fields, those are workers. So we're here for the workers.
Tens of thousands of Americans took to the streets in cities nationwide. The anti-Trump rallies took aim at hot topic issues, with protesters holding signs against the president, his administrations, his actions and agenda, including redistricting and National Guard deployment in U.S. cities.
I was scared of Trump and his views.
While protesters took to the streets, counselor to the president, Peter Navarro, held his own Labor Day press conference touting the economy and changes made by the president that benefit workers.
Every single month, real wages have gone up in the Trump administration.
Even above the stream of honking cars, Rachel Potts wants to be heard.
We have a big country to fight for.
She joined about 100 others lining the sidewalk to be a voice for her parents.
My mom and my dad, they did it during Vietnam. It was something that they did, and it's kind of my duty now to fight for them who are on Medicare and these programs that are at real risk of being cut for them.
And in response to today's nationwide protest, the White House told our sister station in D.C. that no one has done more for the hardworking men and women of America than President Trump, citing his middle-class tax cuts in the big, beautiful bill. Reporting in Tampa, Genevieve Curtis, Fox 13 News.
Protesters taking to the streets on Labor Day, railing against President Trump and other billionaires who they claim are taking power away from the working class.
We call not only on community leaders, but our elected officials to stand with us as we continue to fight to protect home rule.
DC's mayor struggling to walk a political tightrope, initially welcoming federal law enforcement, but later saying the involvement of immigration agents went too far, criticizing the use by some agents of masks to hide their identities. But Trump praising DC's mayor yesterday, saying, wow, Mayor Muriel Bowser of DC has become very popular because she worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in DC. The Trump administration says among the recent arrests in DC is a suspected MS-13 gang member in the country illegally.
No troops in Chicago! No troops in Chicago!
In Chicago, demonstrators condemning Trump's threat to launch an immigration crackdown in the Windy City as soon as this week.
We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
The mayor threatening legal action and signing an order barring Chicago police from helping federal authorities with immigration enforcement. In the meantime, new data shows the administration's immigration crackdown is reshaping the U.S. labor force. More than 1.2 million immigrants have vanished from the workforce since January. Immigrants make up nearly 1 in 5 U.S. workers, including nearly half of all farm workers and 1/3 of construction workers. Farm advocates say crops have been left to rot, and contractors say they're now struggling to fill crews at job sites. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
The 51 People's Movement leaders say they are working to build a movement that is by and for America's working class. On Labor Day, they held the Workers Over Billionaires events across the United States, including right here in the Lowcountry. Organizers say the 50-51 is a nationwide movement fighting to uphold the Constitution and end executive overreach. Yesterday's protests were focused on President Donald Trump and the billionaires who support his administration. One protest was held along Remount Road in Hanahan. Participants say they are fighting for a society where public schools take precedence over private profits. Healthcare is prioritized over hedge funds, and affordable housing is valued more than homelessness.
South Carolina is an anti-union state, a right-to-work state, an at-will state. That means they can fire at will. But that's only because for the last 22 years, the people who have been in charge of the state have been Republicans. Because our Democratic representatives and legislators have wanted to move forward with legislation that will be union friendly, that would have pay equity, that would pay living wages. But instead, because we don't control anything in our House of Representatives or our Senate or even in the governor's office for 22 years, we continue to suffer. Labor continues to suffer, and our nation continues to be one of the highest nations. Our state is still one of the highest states in the nation for poverty.
After the event, participants were invited to join local union representatives and their families at the nearby Communication Workers of America Union Hall for a family-friendly BBQ.
Multiple indivisible protest groups organized earlier today throughout the state to stand up for workers' rights, as well as to protest against President Trump's taxation policies that the organization believes only benefits the wealthy. Our reporter Cindy Dick stopped by the rally in downtown Bemidji to speak to attendees about why they feel their advocacy is important.
Labor Day is a day off of work for many Americans, and while most treat the long weekend as a holiday, Indivisible Bemidji took the opportunity to bring attention to the workers of the country.
Today we're standing up for our workers, for those who, should get equal pay. I believe that women should be treated equally to men in the workplace and in the home. I think everybody needs to realize that we should be working together and not trying to divide everybody up, because that's not where we come from.
I think it's just important. People see different stories on the news and maybe from different perspectives, but they just know that we have real concerns, and maybe it'll cause them to reflect and look into it a little bit. And for people that kind of agree with the stance we're taking, maybe it just makes them feel a little bit better knowing that somebody is standing up and doing this.
There were a few hundred people who rallied along Paul Bunyan Drive with a Workers Over Billionaires stance.
Billionaires and rich people are going to get about a $60,000 cut, and your average person is going to get much less, maybe $1,000, $1,600. And with the tariffs, prices are going to increase, and that's going to get eaten up pretty quick. So we think standard of living for your average American is going to go down, and standard of living for your average billionaire, as if they need it, is going to go up, and that's just not right. It's not the American way.
Labor Day was created to recognize American workers and their contributions to the nation's strength and prosperity, which is why Indivisible chose to have their rally today.
Saving our democracy is important, and we need to have a more equal and just working community and work with our people, because they're working for us. We have good and bad everywhere, but let's promote the good.
Reporting from Bemidji, I'm Sydney Dick, Lakeland News.
Some of the other topics spoken about at the rally were how recent tax and tariff laws are affecting Americans, immigration and its effect on the working economy, and safety and health protections in place for workers.
Rakeen just held a series of town halls across Green Country last week, while some of his colleagues are no longer doing so. In-depth anchor Rick Marinon asked Breachin about the Epstein files.
Where are you at on the Epstein files? And
I signed the resolution by Ralph Norman. The key word there is credible information. I was one of the first to sign that resolution because I believe in transparency, but I also want to make sure that the innocent are protected.
Rakeen also talked about delaying the vote on the big beautiful bill because the wind and solar industry would have gotten billions in tax credits without having to pay income taxes. While he says the bill and Trump's executive orders should bring balance to our deficit, protesters taking the stand want there to be a better balance for workers and not the wealthy.
And despite the heat, thousands still marched through the streets of San Diego this morning in what was called a Workers Over Billionaires demonstration that mirrored protests in cities nationwide.
NBC7 political reporter Joey Safchik was at the protest downtown where politicians and labor leaders called for everything from higher wages to a yes vote on the redistricting ballot measure. She entered.
Good morning. This is Morning Sky. I'm your host, Sky. Happy Atlas Shrugged Day. Today is the official or unofficial holiday that is marked by celebrations within the objectivist community or movement is the best word, I guess, where you say, thank you, Ayn Rand, for creating this monumental magnum opus of yours. And your memory will live on through generations and generations because of your brilliance. We applaud you. We appreciate you. Even though you're no longer with us, it's amazing to see how powerful her statements were and are apparently going on till today. It's like this brings me right into the show. I have to say this. These people at these rallies, I don't even want to call them protesters. That's too good of a word. If I say protesters, just let me know. You said the wrong word. And I think with the amount of people out in these streets, they've lost their goddamn minds. I can say that because I lost mine too a long time ago. But I can tell when somebody has lost their goddamn minds. One thing. This is a show about blackout or about blankouts and fill-ins. We're going to fill in as many blankouts as I can say. For the people that are marching in the streets, they're saying workers over billionaires and saying that the wealthy should have less hold in society and that they should pay more in taxes and all this stuff. Complete BS. Complete BS. That is BS beyond control. Think about it. You got up this morning, right? What'd you do? You turned on a light. That's electric power. That's probably a multi-billion-dollar company run by a CEO that makes millions or billions of dollars a year salary. So blank that out. Blank out the light. Okay, so you had clothes on. You had pajamas on, right? That was made by some textile company, some active wear or fitwear company. And they make billions of dollars a year. There's probably an executive, a CEO, probably makes billions of dollars. Blank that out. You're naked. You're naked. Now you're naked. Okay. So you try to go to, you're naked, so you're covering up, and you run to the bathroom. You try to you want to take a shower. You want to wash your face and hands. You want to take a shower. Blank out. There's no water. You don't have water. The billionaire that the chief executive officer, the CEO, said, you know what, we're not having water anymore. There's no water. People are against billionaires. We're against people having water. So there's no water. Okay, so you're naked, you're dry, and you don't know what you're gonna do. You try to put on some other clothes. You find something, just some rags or something, like a burlap sack or something like that. I don't know. Then you go to your car, but wait a minute, your car is a manufactured vehicle from Korea or Japan or Germany or Europe, some other places in Europe, or maybe even America. Wait a minute. I can't get into it. There's no car. I can't drive. The greedy, selfish CEO of the car company doesn't want me to drive anymore. I can't drive. Oh no. Do you see? All right, I can go on and on and on. That's just the gist of it. That's the blank outs. Now I'm going to fill it in. The CEO, the one that works, the worker, the productive. Because I don't give a goddamn about the rich. I don't give a goddamn about the poor. I give a goddamn about the productive. That's all I care about. The productive people in society. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. The producers. I don't care if you're making 20 cents an hour or $20 million an hour. If you're productive, if you're focused on your task, if you're producing for yourself and your values, that is the key. It doesn't matter what tax bracket you're in this regard. It only matters the fact that you can put in work and do things that are great and wonderful and achievable. I mean, I'm looking at these posters and it's just complete gobbledygook. It's just nasty. Billionaires are nothing and workers over billionaires. I never understood that. What is a worker? What the hell is a worker? Other than somebody that puts their mind to a problem just to solve it and then reap the benefits from it. That's work. That's essentially all work is. So that's a CEO, right? That's a CTO. That's a CFO. That's a billionaire. And it's very cute too. It's very cute because some people can be billionaires. Our entertainers, our athletes, they can be billionaires. Oprah can be a billionaire. Michael Jordan can be a billionaire. Jay-Z can be a billionaire. Rihanna can be a billionaire. Especially black folk. Black folk, oh, well, they've been so battered and oh my God, their history is just so, let them be billionaires. It's all right. It's like, it's such a disconnect because they won't say that, but that's the truth. But no, Jeff Bezos, oh, no, he's too selfish. He's just a businessman. He has nothing to do with art or sports or anything. I mean, he does, but he's got Amazon Studios and the sports section of the Washington Post. But he is mainly just business. He's just strictly a businessman. He has no ties to anything else other than just making money. When Bill Gates' name wasn't as much in the dirt as it is now, he was just about making money. The late great Steve Jobs, he had an artistic kind of ideal in accordance with Dr. Ankar Gatte's words. He was more of like an artist kind of thing. It was more like you could relate to him. You could see how he was moving. But you should see on YouTube. Go to YouTube and put in Steve Jobs on making a business. Just listen to how he is emphatic and passionate and he stands by his words, but it's so clear. He's saying you got to pick the logos, you got to find a team, you got to you have to install infrastructure, you have to have all these different elements to being in a business. That's not work. Those aren't workers, CEOs. Are you sure? Now, I'm not saying that every CEO and every billionaire is completely immune from criticism and everything, but to just make a blanket statement and a collectivistic kind of ideal is reprehensible. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. It's a bad sign for our culture. It's a very bad sign. So, you got people like just Tim Cook. He's a billionaire. Oh, and then that's the thing too. It's like they feel guilty, so they gotta say, "I gotta give back. I gotta give back. I gotta give back." That sense of guilt rises up within them, and they have that sensation that says, "I gotta give back to the community, or these people are gonna eat my head off." That's disturbing because there's no such thing as giving back what you never taken. If you never have taken anything, then you cannot give anything back. Creating a business is giving back. That's showing something that in the world that is true, that is real. That's the power. That's the power of all this. That is the reality of everything. So like I said, and then look at this, not millionaires, because some of them out there in the rallies, they may be millionaires. They don't talk too much about that. They probably have equity in their house worth over $1 million. They probably have assets in a portfolio of investments that is worth over $1 million. Not quite to the billionaire point, but we got millions. That's what they're thinking in their head. I'm a millionaire, but I'm not a billionaire. I'm not an evil, disgusting, nasty, evil, billionaire. I'm not a monster as painted by these signs. Like, and that's the thing too. It's like they're like serious, but they're not serious. They're funny and try to ha ha he he and kiki and show you that they have a sense of humor about all this, but and like it's just a walk in the park or a walk on the streets, blocking traffic, blocking private property, complete big no-nos. Obviously, I'll go to some more videos. Let me see. Hold on. Wait a minute. Before I go there, I got to go do this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to present live from the Blue Room in the heart of Delaware, brought to you by Samsung. Never Samsung. He's the man who dives into the looking glass to give you news. It's Skylar Saundy. Thank you, Rick James. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to the story.
Introduces us to someone who can't vote in that special election, but still has plenty to say.
We love civil rights.
That's right. We love civil rights.
It's another 12 years before Katie Rash.
I don't want the kids.
Multiple indivisible protest groups organized earlier today throughout the state to stand up for workers' rights.
12 or what? I don't even know.
As well as to protest against President Trump's taxation policies that the
And in Sioux Falls, multiple labor unions and supporters gathered at Faywick Park to not only celebrate the holiday, but also highlight the power of the working class. They also took issue with the political rollback of union support. Union workers encourage people to get involved and, of course, take action.
We need to rediscover the idea of mass action, workers fighting together for the good of the entire class. Because after all, we outnumber the bosses 100-1. It's time we start acting like it and use our strength to demand respect.
I'm going to stop that clown right there. Now, that may be the case. That's 100-1, but that one is the leader, is the generator, the creator, the mind behind everything. The workers are just that. They signed on the line. This is not a slavery thing. This is not indentured servitude. This isn't serfdom. You signed up on your own will that you'll perform some kind of work. You'll perform some kind of role that would that will generate money for you and of course for whatever company. But that's the whole point. There's the C-suite, the CFO, the CTO, the COO, the CEO. All the C's, they are the ones behind all this. They are the millionaires and billionaires that create this country. And workers are just as much. I'm not trying to deny, workers are evil and they're awful. No, I'm saying workers have to put into context and in reality what they are trying to fight. They're fighting themselves. Like I said, these people will be naked. They wouldn't have any clothes on. They'll get arrested for streaking if they weren't for billionaires. They wouldn't have been able to make it to the parking lots and their whatever Subaru or their Tesla. Some of them maybe not Teslas, but then their Subaru or their Honda Civic or their Hyundai Santa Fe, whatever the case may have been. They wouldn't be able to do it because those are multi-billion-dollar corporations with billionaires at the helm or multi-millionaires. Notice again, not millionaires, billionaires. Because there's too many millionaires that people actually like. People actually like Matt Damon. People actually like Jennifer Lopez. They're not billionaires. They got millions, but they're not the top. They're not, and they're artists. I mean, I'm trying to think about a millionaire business person. There's a few. John Allison is a great example of a millionaire businessman. He was one of the head. He was the head of BB&T Bank for many years, and he is a shining example of a capitalist. He's a shining example of somebody who said, "No, I will not back down. I will not be afraid of people saying anything against my name because I know my name. I know who I am. And I know the fact that I am a producer. That's the whole point. Production, producers, workers are producers. I don't like to make the distinction between workers and billionaires. Anybody who works for a living and creates value, you're a worker. You're a worker. Now you can say, okay, there's the worker and the boss. All right, I can understand that distinction too. But at the same time, you have to say that billionaires work as well. They put in just as much work, if not more work. Sometimes they work 14-hour days, 16-hour days. Sometimes they have terrible days. Sometimes they have great days. Shouldn't be based on somebody's income that you say something is different. And then this is like a hodgepodge of different ideas, like you can see in the shot right now. Freedom, democracy, truth. Okay. Resist like it's 1939. Fire, ICE. I mean, it's just a whole hodgepodge. They're against Trump. They're against ICE. I'm against ICE. I can understand that. But they're more for the defund the police in some cases. That hasn't been raised about too much. It's mainly the billionaire constituency versus the quote-unquote workers, which is a fallacy beyond anybody else's comprehension. I'm going to go back to the story.
This rally was a smaller portion of the larger Workers Over Billionaires events that took place all over the country today.
Between 200 and 300 people gather in Monroe Park to protest the Trump administration and the billionaires living in America for today's Workers Over Billionaires March. RVA Indivisible and the 50501 organization.
You see, that reporter, she's not a billionaire. She's not a billionaire. She may have a few $100,000, maybe $1 million, but she's most likely not a billionaire. That's reality. So it's like, okay, we can trust that. We'll watch the news. They're not billionaires. They're not those evil, greedy billionaires that gone it. Oh my God. They're not that bad. But that's the whole notion. Workers over billionaires. What does that mean? Just imagine all the great parts of our lives. I mentioned at the top of the show. Everything will be blanked out. Virtually everything will be blanked out. The flags that are provided, those are by a corporation most likely, or the poles or whatever the case may be that you're holding up the flag, maybe a multi-billion-dollar company. Maybe. I'm not saying it is, but maybe. People have backpacks on. Death Row, I'm going to let you answer that yourself, sir. But, yeah, people are just oblivious. It's like, if you just brought that to their mind, I wonder what would they do? Would their heads explode? Like, goddamn, that's right. I'm wearing Nikes. I have on Wrangler jeans. I have on Levi jeans. I have Under Armour shirt on. They're all multi-billion-dollar companies headed by multimillionaires or billionaires. What the hell? How does that work? How does that equate? And why is it quote unquote selfish? You can't wear. Why is it quote unquote? Notice the quote unquote selfish. It's like it's everybody. The workers can be selfish. Workers can be selfish as hell. They can be selfish all they want. But billionaires, God forbid a billionaire be selfish. Oh my God. Think of herself. Think of himself. But the worker, oh yeah, I'm thinking about myself. Yeah, that's my Medicare. That's my Medicaid. That's my Social Security. It's all mine. Me, mine. I, myself. Ah, ha, ha, ha. But the billionaire, my wealth, my creation, my business. How selfish, and quote unquote, in that context. I'm going to let it play some more.
marched from Monroe Park to Capitol grounds to demonstrate what they're calling an income gap between wealthy and low-income Americans. They say President Trump persuaded Republican members of Congress to cut access to health care and food assistance while preserving tax cuts for high-income earners. One demonstrator believes this march on Labor Day sends an inspiring message to the hard workers who continuously fight for a livable wage for everyone.
It's particular.
Let me answer Rick James. He says, because the billionaire has money for 4 lifetimes, sir. They don't need that much. Fact. Actually, they do need that much. They need more. They need money for 17 lifetimes because of the work they put in, because of the power they have of the mind, of using their creative faculties, using their thinking power. They should have 20 lifetimes worth of work. There should be trillionaires walking around. All right, I'm going back now. I just had to say that.
Particularly important this Labor Day that we honor and recognize all those who fought battles in order that we would have fair wages and enough money to live on, which we don't right now, but hopefully we will.
What the hell is a fair wage? A fair wage can only appear with a contract. If you sign on to do something for $20 an hour and you agree to that, then that's a fair wage, right? You agree to it. That's fair. Equal is unfair. When you say that somebody that is making $20 an hour should be $7 an hour just based on the fact that they are of greater ability or are absolutely more competent than the person making $7, that's evil. That is the horrific sight that people are proclaiming that should be. I would love to see these people try to be a billionaire. That's why all these throngs of people just sit down and look at a balance sheet, look at a scrap of paper, and say, I'm going to start my company. You're not even looking to be a billionaire. It just happens like that. You do so much work, you produce so much that you become a billionaire. I don't think there's many people that say, wow, I'm going to be a billionaire. And that's good. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that's not really what the aim is. Like the late great Steve Jobs, he was, and this is the weird thing about this. This is the strange thing about our culture. They call them BBs, baby billionaires, like the 1 million to 9 million. You're a baby billionaire, almost like generals. Like a brigadier general is like a baby general. It's like you got 1 through 9. That's cute. Okay, that's nice. Then you have to move up to like 10 million. Okay, 10 billion, you're a decabillionaire. Then when you get to 100 billion, you're a centibillionaire. And if you're over 100 billion, you're a multi-centibillionaire. That's what I'm talking about. That's the truth. I would just love for this woman right here with this tie-dye shirt, these glasses and gray hair and wrinkles in her face to say, you know what? I think I'll become a billionaire. But you know, like I said, you don't even think I'll become a billionaire. You say, I have this vision. I have a thought. I have an idea. I want to create something with wealth. And if it so happens that I make so much, create so much value that it warrants me to be a billionaire, and then, hey, then I've earned that. That's all that is. I just don't think all these throngs of people, I don't know if they even considered that. Out of these throngs of people, they probably read Atlas Shrugged. At least one of them, somebody has. And they just put it down and said it was claptrap, or it was or on us, that's the negative. The positive side, it was a good book, it was a good read, I liked it, but that's all. Don't take in the ideas of reason, individualism, and capitalism. They just sort of drift away from it, not necessarily holding it to high esteem. I'll continue with what she has to say.
After we victoriously defeat Donald Trump.
This protest was one of 500 or more that took place across the country, and we reached out to the White House for a comment. White House spokeswoman Taylor Rogers sent us a statement saying, in part, quote, "No man has done more for working men and women than President Trump. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy, which is why he's championed an agenda that always puts them first, from signing the largest middle-class tax cuts in history to securing nearly $10 trillion in new investments to create high-paying jobs across our country."
Labor Day, usually a time to celebrate workers, but instead of parades and picnics, some Ohioans spent the holiday protesting at a rally.
Yeah, that's right. 10 TV's Libby Cathy spent the day at McPherson Park, where protesters said workers' rights and democracy itself are under attack.
Labor Day is typically a time for rest or celebration, but at McPherson Park in downtown Columbus today, it looked more like a movement. Hundreds pouring out today for a National Day of Action, organized by the group 5051, short for 50 protests, 50 states, one movement.
Today, we are out here supporting workers over billionaires. That is our motto nationally. We are just, doing our best to amplify the voices of workers today.
The protest was just one of many across the country today, and one of roughly 35 across Ohio. Organizers say the goal is to challenge policies they feel are hurting workers and to draw attention to what's at stake.
H-I-O! Donald Trump has got to go!
Organizers told me that organizing the event on a holiday and at this park, steps from a Columbus Crew game, was strategic. They wanted to celebrate Labor Day with the community while sending a clear message about workers' rights.
Barbecues versus a protest is kind of, the vibes of today. It's extremely important right now to protect workers' rights because everyone's rights are under attack with the current Trump administration.
The White House, asked about the National Day of Action, gave a brief response. Communications Director Stephen Chung told 10 TV, quote, "There are protests today?"
I did reach out to someone at the White House today about this Day of Action and how there's protests across the country. The response was, "There are protests today? Question mark. Do you have any response to that?
I think that kind of just speaks to the billionaire class that is running our country and how out of touch they are with the working class and our needs.
For many attending, this was about more than just a single issue.
It's a hair on fire moment for our democracy. And yes, Donald Trump was elected, but if our Constitution falls apart and the rule of law falls apart, it's going to be too late. We need to use our freedom of speech now to make sure, we put a stop to this.
As for what comes next,
this is a marathon, not a sprint.
And if this puts pressure even on our Republican representatives, we have to keep doing it.
We looked around downtown for any counter protesters to speak with as we try to get all sides to this story. We did not see anyone there today. Libby Cathy, 10 TV News.
All right, so how many of these hundreds of people have smartphones? How many? How many are using their GPS? How many are using their if they have their vehicles? How many? I ask. How many people are really so against billionaires they have to sidestep and use other means? I guess pigeon and messenger pigeons or a can with a string on it or something. What do you do? What do you do? They try to make it seem as if their way is the only way. And did you notice she had a party, a socialist party shirt on, the last woman? Yeah, socialist party T-shirt. I wonder how much that costs. How much did she pay? How much did you use that? Oh, well, I'm not a billionaire, so it's okay. I'm all right. It's the rationalization. They rationalize away everything. Rationalize. They don't consider the truth anyhow. They don't consider the truth as it is in front of their face, in front of their faces. Instead, they want to grovel and complain and moan and weep and bitch and piss and moan about the fact that they can't be billionaires, because everybody wants to be a billionaire, but ain't nobody want to be a billionaire. That's the truth. Yeah, go up to anybody on the street. I guess besides the protest, excuse me, I'm about to say the word P word, rally participants. I know it's a little bit longer, but I don't want to call them protesters. That's giving them too much credit. But ask them in the streets, do you want to be a billionaire? They'll be like, yeah, I want to be a billionaire. You can get all kinds of cool jets and clothes, and you can form your own companies and create more wealth and create more possibilities for yourself. Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad, being a billionaire. But nobody wants to be a billionaire, because if you be a billionaire, oh no, you're damning the working class, and you're putting a stranglehold on those who go to work every day. That's something that always confused me when people said that. When I say the sir, I say good morning, sir, and oh, not sir, I work for a living. What? Well, the sir I'm referencing is you as a grown man, or a young man, even sometimes. I'm referencing the fact that you're an older gentleman in most cases, and if I were in uniform and you were younger than me and you were a second lieutenant or something like that, I would still call you sir, and I would imagine that you do work. Oh, I work for a living. Oh, okay. Who doesn't work for a living? There are so few. They are really one of the least parts of society that really don't actually work or have some option of choosing another line of business outside of the traditional job market. I'll continue.
Across the country and here in downtown Columbus, people are protesting against President Donald Trump and other billionaires who they say are hurting the working class. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for NBC4 at 11. I'm Kyle Beachy. NBC4.
Hold on, I just saw a sign: need before greed. Whose need? That is communism. That is absolute communism. Whose need and for what? And what do you have to do? What do you have to give up? What do you have to sacrifice in order to satisfy or fulfill someone's need? Why isn't your greed what you should be able to focus on? And what I mean by greed is in the sense of wanting more, yearning for more, earning to get more, creating more wealth. That's greedy. That's the greed I mean. Not the shackling, the throttling, or the stamping on people's necks just to get your own way kind of greed. And that's not greed. That's not even avarice. That's I guess you can say a fraud against the soul. It's fraud against the soul. I think I just coined that. Y'all need to write that down.
Isabel Cleary shows us what these protesters are asking for and how the administration is responding.
This Columbus protest was a chance for many groups to have their voices heard. A main focus of this protest was workers' rights and educators calling on the state government to increase school funding.
We're out here today because our communities need to be supported. Public education needs to be supported.
Public education was not the only issue people came to speak about.
We are supporting public education. We are supporting our immigrant neighbors, and we are
same one, talking about public education, when really it's government education. There should be private education only, and they should be run by billionaires. There should be Apple School. There's Apple Music, there's Apple TV. They wanted an Apple car. I think it would be cool to have Apple School and have some kind of way of doing it without ads. Like if the children aren't bombarded with ads every time. There's a site that I submit my writing to that I've got paid from, thousands of dollars so far. And I love it. It doesn't have any ads whatsoever. There's a fee, But you don't have to. It's a freemium program. It's free to just sign up and go and just make as much money as you can. But you'll miss out on perks. You'll miss out on a lot of things that the paid subscription has installed in it. So I think schools should be like that. It should be like a freemium plan. You won't get the same exact education unless you put in enough money, but you should be able to go to school for free. I think I'm gonna just hold on. I'm looking for it right now. Hold on. It's loading. And this is your free bingo space, Death Row. I'm just putting it up right now. Okay, see, I'm gonna just skip past her because she already spoke.
Labor Day is often associated with backyard barbecues and a day off work for that final hurrah of summer. But some here in West Michigan say the holiday is about so much more. Clerk on your side's Nick Nelson joins us now. And Nick, you went to several demonstrations today about talking with folks about how they made their voices heard.
Yeah, Julia, the events were labeled Workers Over Billionaires, and those that participated say they're worried about the direction that workers' rights are headed.
I actually work on disability. So I have a DSNAP program, Medicare, Medicaid savings program, and the Project 25 is going to cut that off in 2027.
Pamela Kiss lives in Battle Creek, but traveled up to Lowell for a Workers Over Billionaires demonstration on Fulton Street. It was one of several events across West Michigan on this Labor Day to show the holiday isn't just about having the day off. Union.
That was well, let me make sure I got what it said. It was two signs that messed me up. Oh, okay. We the people. Okay, so billionaires aren't people, apparently. They're not persons. They're not individuals. We the people. And then, of course, this sign, unions made the middle class. That's not a fact. Unions are okay. There's nothing wrong with unions. It's for collective bargaining. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to pay fees, that's fine. Do what you got to do. But unions did not make the middle class. Billionaires made the middle class. Like Henry Ford was like a millionaire, but in today's money, he would probably be close to, if not a billionaire. With the factory line, and what's it called? He didn't invent the car, but he invented the production line. Places like Rockefeller, people like Rockefeller, he had workers that were paid very well. Same thing with Henry Ford. He had very good workers that were paid very well. So it wasn't just the unions; it was the greedy businessmen. And I mean, this may be a reference for some of you, but not all of you. But you know, if you ever seen DuckTales, I think it was DuckTales. Scrooge McDuck, he would just plunge into his pile of gold and swim in it. He would just be swimming in his pile of gold. That's all that billionaires do. That's the childish, immature way of looking at a billionaire's role in life.
Day to show the holiday isn't just about having the day off. Union organizer and Michigan District 29 Senate candidate Ivan Diaz says for too long, working people have been ignored by both political parties.
Whether that's raising taxes on working class people or cutting things like Medicare or Medicaid or food stamp programs, all of those things hurt working class people. And so that's why it's so important to have events like this one here today.
Indy Next Gen, an organization devoted to getting young people into politics, hosted the Muskegon event. Co-founder Maggie Doyle says the holiday is about celebrating the contribution labor unions have made.
It's important for us to be out here supporting unions, letting them know that we're grateful for them and the work that they're doing, and that we've all benefited from the hard work they've put in, and hope to continue to support them moving forward.
Tom Burke, president of the local International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees chapter, emceed the Grand Rapids event in Garfield Park, featuring music and booths of several organizations that he says are crucial in forming a coalition that can help improve workers' rights.
We stand up for women, LGBTQ folks. We want equality for everyone in the workplace, and we want dignity and respect.
Workers Over Billionaires rallies were held all over the country in major U.S. cities like Chicago and Boston. Julia?
Nick, thanks so much.
Happening now on this Labor Day, hundreds are rallying outside the state capitol as part of the Workers Over Billionaires protest. Similar demonstrations are happening nationwide. The goal is to demand workers' rights, and they say get rid of what they're calling the end to the billionaire takeover of our U.S. government. Earlier today, a group gathered at Trinity Avenue Park in Durham. They marched to Duke University's campus there. NBC News reached out to the White House today for a response. The spokesperson said, quote, "No one has done more for the working men and women than President Trump."
Workers Over Billionaires rallies were held up and down the Central Coast today. We found people rallying in San Luis Obispo and in Lompoc. The protests target the Trump administration's policies, including the targeting of minority workers and the deployment of military forces in cities like Los Angeles and Washington, D.C.
It is Labor Day, and today is the day we honor workers. Workers make this country great. Workers are the backbone of our economy here in Santa Monica County. We are protesting on behalf of the immigrant workers in our fields who don't feel safe coming out in the streets to protest. We're here for them.
In response, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said President Trump is a voice of the working class, adding, quote, "President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity." Similar anti-Trump protests were planned today in other cities.
This is the News 4 Rundown.
Good evening and welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I'm Sean Yancey. It's Labor Day, the first day of September. Here are some of the stories we're following for you tonight. A local community is fighting to keep their neighborhood safe after the Trump administration cut their flood prevention funds.
All right, she's not talking about the she's not talking about the flood. Let me see. She's talking about flood. She's not talking about the flood of rally participants, of rally members who just took to the streets. It's just the irony is overwhelming. It is apparent. You got little kids drinking water bottles. Where'd that water come from? Bet it was purified. Bet it's spring water. Bet it had to be manufactured and produced in a company that's worth billions of dollars. Probably has a CEO that's worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. It's not like a gotcha. This seems like I gotcha. You're driving your car. Oh, you're drinking your water. I'm not trying to gotcha. I'm just trying to let people understand their own either ignorance or willful refusal to think. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to give people the ability to look at their own life and say, wow, God damn it, he might be talking the truth. And I'm just stupid. I just see things and I understand things and I know what right and wrong is, and I just try to figure that out on my own and with the help of everybody, because I make mistakes all the time. I do errors all the time. You know, it's downright shameful. So I'm just gonna say that the people that really do not, I mean, it's it's so easy to say protests, but the rally members, they actually exhibit, a cognitive dissonance that's negative. I think it's good sometimes to have cognitive dissonance. I had cognitive dissonance when I first was introduced to Mr. George Torrain's work and Ayn Rand's work. I was like, what is this? What's going on? I don't understand. Then I was like, wait a minute, this is true. This is not like, this is the most profound thing I've ever come across in my life. It just did a number on me. I just took it on. And like I said, people in this crowd, there's thousands of people, hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, walking across this country yesterday. And they showed up with their banners from queer rainbow flags to American flags upside down to, eat the rich and give to the poor and the needy and the weak and the humble and the modest and the mild. All of that factors into one thing, one key thing: complete altruism. That is at the root of all of this. Altruism is the denial, the denigration of the self. It is the sacrifice of the self for others. And that is a complete and utter travesty. That is evil. That is disgusting. That is wrong. That should be stated. There's something that is very distressing and disturbing about the fact that these throngs of human beings, these masses of flesh, are just so oblivious. Do they even think like, well, I put on deodorant this morning. I put on makeup. I cut my hair. I trim my beard. And what do they say? What do they say to themselves? No, well, I mean, it's a $1 billion company. It's a billionaire that at the helm, but I'm not really for it. I'm for the worker. What does he work on? What does he do? What does she do as a billionaire? How does she work? How does he work? That is totally unbelievable and distressing. That is horrific. Let me see if there's a last video I can play. Again, I'm not trying to gotcha, but it has to be stated. She had a phone in her hand. I think it was Samsung. I would imagine. It's a Samsung phone. Multi-billion-dollar company. Got to have a billionaire CEO. There's like 1,500 billionaires in the world or something like that. There's something close to that. 1,200. I'm not exactly showing the exact amount, but there's over 1,000 billionaires in the world. There's billions of other people that aren't billionaires. So you go about your life saying, oh, I'm not a billionaire. I think my life is worthless. No, you say, look, those people earn their keep. I'm earning my keep. If I make it to the point where I can generate that many billions of dollars, then so be it. I earned that, just like the billionaires earned it. So what is this? Who was the evil person that came up on this? It wasn't even Karl Marx. Karl Marx is just an expression of it. It was Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant is the one that had the idea of putting others before self, not thinking of yourself. If you even think of yourself, not even putting yourself before others, but like dying for others. Like you have to sacrifice for others, because it could be said that, oh, you did a good thing by, you helped out others, and he didn't even like that. So this is where it all stems. This is the expression that we get. This is the outpouring of viciousness and ineptitude that comes with this kind of rhetoric and this kind of activity that's plagued across the land. All right, so I'm going to finish up with him, and then I'm out of here. What's not an American right is to block private property and other streets in different places. And even peaceable assemblies on government property shouldn't even be in it, because there should be private land across the board. The government should lease private property. That's the truth behind that. But I'm going to finish it up with this one. So there it is. I hope you learned something today. Hope you were enlightened. I hope I kept your attention for this amount of time. Hope you didn't lose me too much. I got a respectable amount of views. I'm not tripping off of it. I appreciate everybody that's came through. Who was it? Who are the other people that came through? Was it just Black Cuddy came through, Death Row, and Rick James. Thank you all. I appreciate you, and I will see you sometime tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Take care.